I never liked the silence of winter nights in Vienna. Before the war, the cold season used to arrive with laughter in the streets, the ringing bells from Stephansdom, and the smell of roasted almonds that danced through Kartnerstrasse. Now, winter arrived quietly, like a thief, stealing light, warmth, and hope. My name is Nikolaus Bauer, and I have lived all my 23 years in this city. I once believed Vienna was the safest place in the world. A cradle of music, opera, scholars, and artists. A home where beauty lived on every corner. But war has a cruel talent for rewriting what people think they know. Tonight, as I sit at a small kitchen table with a broken leg, I stare at a candle that is burning slower than any candle I have ever seen. Its flame trembles from a draft crawling beneath the cracked window. And yet, I protect this tiny flame with my hands as if it were the last heartbeat left in the world. Because in a way, it is. We are living in the harshest winter Vienna has seen in decades. The newspapers, thin as cigarette paper, blame a cold front from the north. But the truth is far simpler: the city has no coal, no real heating, no way to keep warm. War doesn't only kill with weapons. It kills by taking away the things that keep people alive. My mother sits across from me, her thin frame wrapped in 3 layers of worn shawls. She coughs, the deep, hollow sound that echoes in the empty corners of our apartment. She hides her face in a handkerchief she embroidered 2 years ago, before old thread and needles became treasures we could no longer waste on beautiful things. "I'm fine, Nikolaus," she whispers, even though we both know she's not. Her voice is weaker each day. It frightens me more than the distant rumble of artillery across the Danube. On the stove, water boils for dinner. Not soup, just water with a single potato split 4 ways. We eat to remember the taste of food. That is the truth of it. From the hallway, I hear the muffled footsteps of our neighbors, followed by hushed arguments, about rations, about rumors of Russian troops, about whether the war will reach the very heart of Vienna. I don't want to listen. But in a city starved of everything, even the sound of strangers has become company. My mother reaches out and lays her hand on mine. Her fingers are ice cold. "You should sleep," she tells me. "I'm not tired," I lie. She smiles at the lie, because she taught me how to lie in the first place. Even soldiers must rest before their battles. "I'm not a soldier," I remind her. "Not anymore." She looks at me with the same sadness every mother keeps hidden until the war forces it out. I already know what she wants to say, so I look away. I was supposed to be fighting on the Eastern Front. I should be freezing in a trench instead of sitting here. But a shell found our position one night, sharp steel and fire and screams, and since then, my leg has never been the same. The government called me unfit for combat and sent me home. A blessing, they said. Home. A blessing. Some lies are too heavy for the world to carry. I stand up on my good leg and check the window again. Frost creeps inward like pale claws. Outside, the city sleeps under a thick blanket of snow, but there is nothing peaceful about it. Even the snow seems like a warning. Vienna isn't dying gracefully. It's shivering. Someday, this will end, my mother says. Winter. Hunger. The sound of sirens. War. And what will be left? I ask without meaning to. She thinks for a moment. Her eyes, blue like mine, reflect the candlelight. We will be left. God leaves the strong ones behind. I want to believe her. But faith is a luxury now, more expensive than bread. The clock above the door ticks loudly, though it lost its minute hand last spring. We measure time differently these days, by ration lines, by bombings, by nights that feel endless. My mother rises slowly from the chair and moves toward her room. She pauses in the doorway, turning back to me. "Don't let the candle burn out yet," she says. "I want to wake with a little light." "I promise." She nods, satisfied, and disappears into the darkness. It takes a long time before her uneven breathing turns into sleep. I stay where I am. This candle was given to me by Anna, the girl who lives 2 floors below. She works at what's left of the bakery across the street. Before the war, she used to give children extra pastries for free. Now, she sometimes hides a stale roll in her coat pocket and hands it to me without speaking. Bread has become a secret language between us. When she placed the candle in my hand 3 nights ago, she whispered, "For warmth. For hope. Don't waste it." I think about Anna more than I should. She's the reason my heart still behaves like a human heart. But even love, as fragile and small as it is, feels like a rebellion in times like these. A sudden low drone fills the silence. My breath freezes in my throat. Not again. I grab the candle and limp to the window. The sound grows louder, a mechanical growl scraping across the sky. Bombers. The sirens erupt a second later, howling through the city like wolves calling each other to the hunt. "Mother!" I shout, already stumbling toward her room. She wakes instantly. Fear is better than any alarm clock. I help her stand, and we hurry down the stairs along with the neighbors. Panic tightens the stairwell like a fist. Someone starts crying. Someone else curses the darkness. We reach the basement shelter, a cramped, damp room with the smell of mold and too many bodies. A baby screams. An old man prays. The ground trembles under our feet as the bombs land somewhere far too close. I hold my mother in my arms. My leg aches with every vibration. Dust falls from the ceiling in small clouds. Boom. A shockwave hits the building. Lights flicker. A child collapses into his mother's dress, sobbing. Another explosion. Closer. The fear is relentless, chewing into bone, into marrow. I shut my eyes, but darkness makes the sound even louder. I open them again and look at the faces around me. Every one of them wears the same expression. A silent question. A desperate plea. Will this be the moment everything ends? Minutes stretch into eternity. Then, silence again. The sirens fade. People exhale. No one entirely believes it's over, but relief is a powerful drug. They start to climb the stairs one by one, hoping their homes still exist above them. I help my mother up as we join the slow procession. Our apartment survived. Barely. A window shattered in the hallway, scattering glass like frozen raindrops. I sweep it aside with my boot and guide my mother inside. She sits down, exhausted. I light the candle again, and the tiny flame returns, as stubborn as Vienna itself. "It's late," she murmurs. "Try to sleep, Nikolaus." I nod. She drifts off quickly, despite everything. The candle flickers. I wait, listening to the wind outside and the uneasy quiet settling over the city. When I finally allow myself to lie down on my thin mattress, I stare at the ceiling and think about the world before war. I think of music drifting from open cafes, the clatter of streetcars, the golden statues in front of the opera house. I think of Anna's smile. But the cold keeps me awake long after my mother's breathing smooths into steady rhythm. Eventually, my eyes grow heavy. Just as I begin to fall asleep, someone knocks softly at the door. A chill runs through my body. No one visits at this hour unless something is wrong. I stand up, heart pounding, and limp to the door. I open it just a crack. Anna stands there, snow tangled in her dark hair, cheeks red from the cold. She is shaking, and not only from the winter. "Nikolaus," she whispers, gasping for breath. "You need to come with me. Now." "What happened?" I ask, grabbing my coat. She looks at me with fear so sharp it feels like a blade pressed to my skin. "It's my brother," she says. "He's missing." Anna's breath came out in quick clouds of steam as she stood in my doorway. The hallway behind her was dark except for the thin strip of moonlight slipping in through a cracked window. Her eyes were wide, not with panic exactly, but with that sharp edge of fear you get when something terrible has already happened and something worse might be coming next. "My brother," she repeats, gripping the doorframe as if she might collapse without the support. "He went out hours ago to get firewood near the river. He should have been back by now." The snow is getting worse. The air raid might have. She swallows hard, shaking her head as if the thought is poison. I can't find him, Nikolaus. I don't ask questions. I don't hesitate. I glance back into the apartment where my mother sleeps, unaware of the danger brewing outside. The candle flickers on the table, small, but stubborn as always. I'll get my coat, I say. Anna exhales shakily, a tiny relief. She steps back to let me close the door quietly. My leg protests as I bend to pull on my boots. The pain is sharp tonight, a reminder of the battlefield I left behind. But there is a different battlefield waiting outside this door, larger, colder, and harder to understand. I blow out the candle to save what little wax we have. The room plunges into darkness. We hurry down the stairwell, our footsteps echoing like distant gunfire. The city feels impatient, urging us to move faster. Outside, the wind stings my face immediately. The snow falls thickly, swallowing the world one tiny flake at a time. Streetlights flicker weakly, struggling to shine through the bitter night. Which way? I ask. Anna points toward the river. He always goes down the Hauptstrasse and then cuts through the park. He thought he could find scrap wood by the old fishing docks. The idea feels foolish, but hunger and cold create desperations that make foolishness feel like bravery. We walk quickly, our breath loud in the silence. My leg aches deeper with every step, but I grit my teeth and force myself forward. Anna keeps glancing around anxiously, as if her brother might materialize from the shadows if she looks hard enough. What's his name? I ask, trying to ground her thoughts. Johann, she says. He's 16. Too young for this. She hugs her coat tighter. Too young for all of this. We pass buildings with boarded windows and abandoned storefronts. Paper notices flutter against walls, orders from the city council, ration schedules, missing persons. So many missing. Did you check the shelter? I ask. She nods. Everyone said they didn't see him. Her voice cracks. I can't lose him, Nikolaus. He's all I have left. I understand this kind of fear too well. The fear of being the last one standing. We reach the park. The tall iron gates are half buried in snow. Trees, stripped bare of leaves, stand like lonely skeletons under the dim night sky. Somewhere nearby, a dog howls, long, desperate, hungry. Anna stops suddenly, bending down to point at the ground. Look, she says. Footprints. There are tracks in the snow, small, but steady, leading through the park toward the river. They look fresh. Relief flickers across her face. He came this way, she whispers. We follow the footprints. But after a few minutes, they start turning irregular, like he was stumbling. The path veers to the right and then stops entirely near a fallen bench. Anna crouches down, brushing away clumps of snow with frantic hands. Please, she mutters. Please. I kneel beside her, ignoring the throbbing in my leg. I run my fingers along the snow and feel something hard beneath. A glove. Anna's breath catches. She picks it up with trembling fingers. Johann's, she breathes. Her voice is barely more than a gasp. I stand and scan the area. Something doesn't feel right. The wind is too loud here. The shadows too thick. The river is close, we can hear the slow grind of ice against the shore. Anna, I say gently, we should keep moving. Before I finish, a distant boom echoes through the night, another bombing somewhere to the west, too far to see but close enough to feel the ground tremble. Anna starts walking faster, urgency pulling her forward like a rope around her ribs. I limp after her as quickly as I can. We reach the edge of the river, where the Danube churns like a wounded animal. Ice forms jagged lines along its surface. The docks are in ruin, wood broken by years of neglect and recent attacks. Rusted metal barrels lie half buried in snow. Anna shouts her brother's name. The wind answers with a howl of its own. My heart sinks. Johann, she calls again, running between debris. And then we hear it. Not a shout. Not a scream. A whimper. So soft it might be mistaken for wind if we weren't listening so hard. Anna freezes. Then she rushes toward the sound, stumbling through snow up to her knees. I follow, chest tight with dread. We find Johann curled behind a heap of broken crates, shivering violently. His face is pale, too pale, and his lips are a frightening shade of blue. Anna falls beside him, pulling him into her arms. Johann. Oh God, what happened? His words are choked, barely understandable. Cold, slipped, couldn't get up. He coughs, a wet, rattling sound that forces Anna to bite her lip in fear. He's freezing, I say. I take off my coat and wrap it around him. The cold bites immediately into my own skin, but Johann needs the warmth more. We should get him home, I say. Slowly. Keep him awake. Anna nods frantically, brushing snow from his hair with shaking hands. We need a doctor, she whispers. I hesitate. Doctors are scarce. Medicine even more so. But if Johann falls asleep now, we'll find one, I promise. Together, we lift him to his feet. He leans heavily against me, nearly dragging me down with him. My injured leg screams in protest, but I force myself upright. One step at a time. The journey back feels 3 times longer than the way out. Snow continues to fall, erasing our footprints as soon as we make them, like the night doesn't want us to be found. At times, Johann slumps forward, threatening to collapse entirely, but Anna keeps talking to him, begging him to stay awake. You're stronger than this, she whispers. You have to be. My vision blurs from the cold and pain. But I keep moving. For Johann. For Anna. For the promise I made, to survive, to help, to be useful again even if I can no longer carry a rifle. When we finally reach the apartment building, my body trembles uncontrollably. Anna's hands are raw and red from holding her brother upright. We half carry him up the stairs and into their small flat on the 2nd floor. The room is barely warmer than outside. No fire burns in the stove. Anna curses under her breath and rushes to gather blankets. Help me, she pleads. We pile everything we can find over Johann. His breathing is shallow. His teeth chatter uncontrollably. We need heat, I say. Anything to raise his temperature. Anna's eyes dart to the corner where a crumpled paper bag sits. She empties it, stale bread, a few sticks of wood. Not enough, she murmurs. I limp toward the window, searching the street. A few buildings still glow with dim light, houses with a little coal left, maybe. But asking for help at this hour is risky. Everyone is afraid of losing what little they have. I take a breath and turn back to Anna. I'll go, I say. You can't, she argues. Your leg. Your brother will die if we stay here and do nothing. The truth lands heavily between us. Finally, she nods and squeezes my arm. Be careful, she whispers. I don't tell her that caution feels like a luxury we can't afford. I don't tell her that my body feels like it might collapse any moment. I just nod and step back into the freezing hallway. The wind outside claws at my face as I rush into the street. My vision swims. My heartbeat thunders in my ears. I knock on doors, beg for coal, for firewood, for anything. Most ignore me. Some curse at me. Others simply stare with dead eyes before closing their doors. Living ghosts. Finally, near the end of the block, a door cracks open. A small, elderly woman peers out. Her hair is pure white, but her eyes are sharp with suspicion. What do you want? She rasps. I force the words out through chattering teeth. There's a boy, he's freezing. We need fuel. Please. She studies me for a long moment. Too long. I feel like I might collapse on her doorstep. Then, silently, she disappears inside. I lean against the icy wall, ready to give up. But the door opens again. She hands me a bundle of thin logs, barely enough for an hour of heat. It feels like salvation. Danky, I breathe. She nods once and shuts the door. I run, limping, staggering, back to Anna's apartment. My lungs burn. My leg feels like it's splitting open. Inside, Anna kneels next to Johann, who looks even more lifeless than before. She looks up, eyes filled with desperate hope. I collapse beside the stove and shove the logs inside. With shaking hands, I strike a match. The flame flickers weakly, then catches. Fire. Real fire. Anna lets out a broken sob of relief. She pulls Johann closer, letting the warmth wash over him. As the fire grows, the tiny room fills with that beautiful, forgotten feeling, heat. I sit back, breathing hard, the pain finally overwhelming me. Anna takes my hands in hers. "Thank you," she whispers. I try to respond, but exhaustion pulls at me like 100 hands dragging me under a dark river. Before I can stop myself, my eyes close. The world dissolves. When I wake, the fire is only glowing embers. The first pale light of morning seeps through the frosted window. Johann is asleep, breathing steadily now. His color is returning. Anna sits on the floor, head resting against her brother's shoulder, asleep from exhaustion. She looks peaceful in a way I've never seen before. I stand quietly, careful not to wake them. My leg still aches, but the pain feels strangely distant. Outside, the snow has stopped falling. For the first time in many nights, the city is still. I wrap my coat back around me and glance one last time at the siblings. Anna's hand is loosely wrapped around Johann's, holding on as if she might lose him again if she lets go. A warmth spreads through my chest, not from the fire, but something deeper. I step quietly to the door. And freeze. Because there, on the floor, just inside the threshold, lies another glove. Not Johann's. Small. Dark. With a single drop of blood staining the snow-dampened fabric. A chill runs through me. Someone else has been here. Recently. Watching. The glove lies where it should not be, before sunrise, before footsteps, before any reason at all. My heart stutters in my chest. The city sleeps, dead quiet, except for the faint creak of wood settling under the weight of the cold. The glove shouldn't exist. But it does. I crouch slowly, my injured leg trembling beneath me. The glove is thin, too small for a grown man, too delicate to belong to someone used to hard labor. The dried blood on the cuff is fresh enough to still catch the faint glow of morning light, a sharp red like a warning. I lift it, turning it over in my hand. It's damp from melted snow. Whoever wore this was inside this apartment. Recently. Watching. My stomach knots. Behind me, Johann shifts slightly in his sleep. Anna mumbles in her exhaustion, head still resting on her brother's shoulder. I look at them, huddled under blankets, finally breathing without fear, and every instinct in me screams to protect them. The war has already taken enough from them. From all of us. I slide the glove into my coat pocket and limp quietly out into the hallway, closing the door with care. The stairs creak under my weight as I descend. Each step amplifies the sound of my heartbeat thudding in my ears. The city is still silent. No soldiers shouting. No bombs falling. Just the sting of a morning too cold to be kind. Snow crunches beneath my boots as I step into the deserted street. The buildings still sleep under their white blankets, windows shut tight like eyes refusing to see reality. Whoever was here can't be far. I move toward the corner, leaning heavily on the wall as my leg protests every movement. Then, a sharp crack in the snow. I freeze. Someone is behind me. I don't breathe. My fingers brush the glove in my pocket like it might grant me some understanding of the danger lurking nearby. Another crunch. Slow. Deliberate. I turn. A figure stands not far away, watching. They wear a long, dark coat and a hat pulled low over their face. Snowflakes drift lazily around them like slow-moving ghosts. They do not move forward. They do not speak. They simply watch. Who are you? My voice is rough with fear. The figure tilts their head slightly, like something about me is amusing or confusing. Then, without answering, they turn and walk away, disappearing into a narrow alley swallowed by shadow. I want to follow. But my body is tired, weak, wrong for a chase. What do you want? I shout into the silence. No reply. Just the wind pushing the world forward whether I can keep up or not. My skin prickles. The glove is heavier now, as if it carries someone's intent, wrong and dangerous. Something is happening in this city beyond the bombs and the hunger. Something that stalks people silently while the world pays attention only to the war. I limp back inside, floorboards groaning as if they object to my return. Johann is still breathing steadily. Anna's eyes crack open when she hears me enter. You're back, she whispers, voice raw from worry and fatigue. Yes, I say, shaking off the snow. I sit near the dying embers of last night's fire, not close enough for warmth, but close enough to see the color fading out of them like hope draining away. Johann? I ask. He's sleeping, she says, brushing hair from her brother's forehead. Still feverish. I nod. He'll need water once he wakes. And food. Anna glances at the table, where crumbs sit like a cruel joke. I can go to the ration line later. I decide not to tell her about the glove or the shadowed figure. Not yet. She has enough fear to drown in already. We'll go together, I say. She studies me, like she can sense the gloom hanging over my words. Are you all right? I lie. Yes. She doesn't believe me, but she lets it go. We spend the next few hours tending to Johann. When he finally stirs awake, Anna practically collapses into relief. His voice is a cracked whisper, but he's alive, and for now, that's enough. We give him water. He sips slowly. His eyes find mine, confused. You saved me, he breathes. We found you, I correct him. Your sister saved you. Anna's smile trembles like a flame trying not to go out. Johann nods weakly and closes his eyes again, as if sleep is his safest refuge. I stand and stretch my stiff leg. We should get in the ration line before the bread runs out. Anna looks at Johann hesitantly. I can't leave him yet. Then I'll go, I offer. She grabs my wrist. No. You already did so much. Let me. I shake my head. Your brother needs you. Silence. Her eyes glisten, not with tears but with the weight of gratitude she can't voice. Thank you, Nikolaus, she whispers. I adjust my coat and step outside again. The weight of the glove presses against my chest like a secret demanding attention. The ration line winds down the Hauptstrasse, dozens of exhausted faces wrapped in scarves to hide their despair. I join the end, leaning heavily on my cane. Snow crunches under shifting feet, the only real conversation in line. Two soldiers stand guard at the front, guns lowered but eyes alert. One of them shouts at a man who tries to cut in line. The man's wife cries quietly behind him, clutching a thin blanket around a baby who barely makes a sound. Babies learn quickly here that screaming wastes energy they can't afford. The smell of burnt coal and cold metal hangs heavy in the air. Vienna used to smell like fresh bread and coffee. Now it smells like survival. Hours pass. Boots stamp the ground impatiently as blood turns sluggish in frozen toes. People whisper rumors, Russia, Germany, allies, betrayals. News shifts hourly like wind patterns. No one knows anything real anymore. Finally, it's my turn. The soldier eyes me suspiciously, looking at my limp. Front line, he asks, almost bored. Stalingrad, I answer truthfully. He pauses, just long enough to show a flicker of respect that feels more like pity. Take what's left, he mutters. The bread loaf handed to me is small and stale. The cheese ration is barely a slice. But it is something. Enough to keep Anna and Johann alive another day. I tuck the food carefully into my coat and turn to leave. Then a voice calls my name. Nikolaus? I turn slowly. A man steps closer, mid-40s, thick beard, uniform worn but neatly kept. His eyes widen in recognition. Is it really you? He asks. You look. He hesitates, searching for a word other than broken. I'm alive, I say. He nods. That's more than most. His name clicks into place in my memory. Officer Reinhardt. My old commanding officer gives me a tired smile. Lieutenant, technically. But that doesn't matter anymore. He studies me carefully. You're limping badly. The doctor sent you home, then? There were no doctors left by the time I was pulled from the snow, I answer. He sighs, shaking his head. The war eats everything. Then he steps closer, lowering his voice. You should keep your head down. There have been disappearances. My pulse spikes. What kind? He scans the area, then gestures for us to walk away from the line. I follow, curiosity outweighing caution. People vanish in the night, he says quietly. Usually the young. Usually the weak. No bodies. No explanations. The glove burns like a brand in my pocket. Do the soldiers know? I ask. He scoffs. They don't care. They blame deserters, thieves, anyone who isn't useful. Do you know who's doing it? His jaw tightens. I have suspicions. But I can't prove anything. And anyone who asks too many questions, well, they disappear too. A cold far deeper than winter sinks into my chest. Reinhardt notices my expression. You've seen something. I don't speak. I don't have to. Something in my silence tells him enough. He rests a hand on my shoulder. Listen to me, Nikolaus. Protect your family. Whoever that girl and boy are to you, protect them. His voice lowers to a grave warning. The war is not the only enemy in Vienna anymore. He releases me and walks away, leaving me alone with more fear than answers. The wind howls again, cold and cruel and filled with malice. Anna waits anxiously at the apartment door when I return. You're back, finally. Her relief turns to worry as she sees my face. Nikolaus? What happened? I force my voice steady. Nothing. Just a long line. She doesn't believe me, but she doesn't push. I set the food on the table. Johann wakes enough to nibble on the bread. Anna watches him like he might disappear again if she blinks. As she turns to get water, the glove slips from my coat and falls to the floor. Anna freezes. What is that? She asks slowly. I pick it up, hesitating. There is no gentle way to say this. I found it by your door this morning. She steps closer, frowning. That's not Johann's. No, I say. It isn't. Her breath shakes. You think someone was here? I know someone was. Fear blooms in her eyes like frost spreading over glass. She grips the edge of the table to steady herself. Why, she whispers. Why us? I look at Johann, still weak, vulnerable, perfect prey. I don't know, I admit. But we're not going to wait to find out. I walk to the door, sliding the deadbolt into place. It won't stop someone determined, but it's a start. Anna stares at the glove in my hand like it might come alive and crawl across the floor. What do we do? She asks, voice trembling. My answer is not confident. Not reassuring. But it's the only one I have. We survive, I say. Whatever it takes. Her eyes lock onto mine, and in them, I see fear transform into something harder. Stronger. Resolve. Outside, the sun climbs, casting harsh light over a city full of shadows. War has already stolen so much from Vienna. Now something else is hunting the living. And I intend to hunt it back. I don't remember the exact moment I closed my eyes. One moment the door was breaking. The next, silence swallowed everything. When I woke up, the candle had burned down to half its size, and snowflakes drifted through the broken doorway. My head throbbed. My ribs ached from where a soldier must have struck me. But it wasn't pain that made my hands shake, it was fear. Mother sat on the floor, her back pressed against the wall, arms wrapped around Johann. Her breathing was shallow, wheezing like the last whispers of a dying bellows. Anna was crouched nearby, pressing cloth to a cut above her eyebrow. They were alive. Somehow, we were still alive. They were looking for someone, Anna whispered, voice trembling. Not us. I stared at the dented door, barely hanging from its hinges. Boot tracks stained the floor with dirty slush. Whoever they were, they didn't come to arrest us. They searched and left. Why? Mother coughed violently. Each convulsion shook her fragile frame. We need medicine, she whispered. Medicine. Firewood. Food. Everything was running out. Vienna itself felt like a body slowly freezing to death. Johann stirred weakly, eyes glassy with fever. I'm cold, he murmured. I placed my hand over his skin was icy. Guilt hit me like another blow. I'd found him in the snow, but what good was that if I let him freeze here? Anna caught my eye. We have to do something, Anton, she said. We can't just wait to die. Outside, the wind howled like a warning. Snow piled higher against the buildings. The whole city was disappearing under white silence. War had taken everything from Vienna, the music, the crowded cafes, the ringing church bells. Now, even time felt frozen. But I knew Anna was right. Waiting meant death. We should find Father's old friend, I said, breath shaking. Dr. Weber. He might still be in the 7th district. Anna's eyes widened. That's far, and dangerous. Soldiers patrol everywhere now. I know. But Johann, I looked at him, so young, so frail. He won't last the night. Mother slowly lifted her head, eyes cloudy with fear. Please, don't leave me. I'll come back, I promised. But promises are fragile things in wartime. Leaving the apartment felt wrong. Like abandoning warmth even if the warmth was barely there. But I layered what clothes I could find, Father's heavy coat, torn at the sleeves. A wool scarf full of holes. Gloves too thin to matter. Anna insisted on coming. You can barely walk straight, she scolded. You need someone to help you get there, and back. I didn't argue. I needed her. We stepped into the hallway, shutting the wrecked door behind us. The candle flickered on the table inside, our last light. I prayed it would still be alive when we returned. Snow filled the corridor where the soldiers had smashed the window. It glittered like ground glass in the moonlight. The stairs creaked as we descended, every sound too loud in a city trained to fear noise. When we reached the street, Vienna greeted us like a ghost. Snow draped over bombed buildings like burial shrouds. The cold bit into skin, bone, soul. There were no carriages, no laughter, no footsteps, only the distant rumble of war and the hiss of wind whipping through ruined stone. We walked past the bakery where I used to buy warm rolls with Father. The windows were shattered. A black scorch mark spread up the wall, like a claw mark left by the war itself. Do you ever think, Anna said quietly, that we'll wake up one day and all of this will have been just a nightmare? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say we'd open our eyes to spring flowers, not frozen corpses. But hope felt childish in a world that burned children alive. We just have to survive the night, I replied. It didn't take long before the cold began to rob my strength. Each breath felt sharp, cutting me from the inside. The wound on my leg throbbed with every step. Anna kept glancing at me, worried, but I forced myself to stay upright. I couldn't fall. I wouldn't. We reached the bridge across the Danube. The river below was clogged with ice, huge white slabs grinding against each other with a deep, hollow sound. The street lamp nearest us flickered fitfully, its glass cracked. Then we heard it, voices. Soldiers. We ducked behind a toppled statue, some forgotten general now lying face first in the snow. Two armed patrolmen marched by, rifles slung across their backs, boots crushing the snow in rhythm. One soldier laughed, a sound like broken glass. They say the Russians are close. Maybe by spring the whole city will belong to them. The other spat. I just want this winter to end. The cold kills more than bullets. Their voices faded into the storm. Anna let out a breath she'd been holding. I felt my heart racing, but forced myself to move. Further along the road, a woman sat hunched beside the stone railing, wrapped in a blanket too thin to deserve the name. A dead pigeon lay at her feet, she must have tried to catch it for food. Her eyes were open, but they didn't see us. Anna knelt and closed them gently. I whispered a prayer. Every day, Vienna lost another piece of itself. By the time we reached the 7th district, my vision blurred. Pain clouded everything. The cold was winning. Dr. Weber's building was a tall, narrow house squeezed between two damaged ones. The windows were boarded up, but faint light leaked through cracks. Anna knocked. No answer. She knocked again, louder. The boards rattled. Finally, someone pulled back the door's metal latch. A pale face peeked out, an elderly man with deep shadows under his eyes. Dr. Weber? I asked, teeth chattering. His gaze darted between us, suspicious. I don't have supplies, he hissed. Go away. We just need help, Anna begged. A boy, he's freezing, feverish. He needs medicine or he'll. You think you're the only ones dying? The doctor snapped. Every day they bring me soldiers, officers. I treat who I'm ordered to treat. And there is nothing left for the rest. He tried to shut the door. I shoved my boot into the gap. Pain shot up my leg, but I stood my ground. Please, I whispered. He's just a child. For a long moment, Dr. Weber stared at me, really stared, as if weighing life against risk. Then he sighed and stepped back. Come inside before someone sees you. We entered a hallway lined with medical crates. The air smelled of alcohol and old rags. The doctor pulled open a drawer, rummaging through small boxes of pills and glass vials. I can give you something for the fever, he muttered. And a small bottle of penicillin. But it must last. He handed me the items, wrapped in newspaper. And for the cold? Anna asked. He shook his head. Fire is your best medicine. What is more precious than gold now? Anna lowered her head. We started toward the door, but the doctor spoke again. You shouldn't be out tonight, he said quietly. The Gestapo is searching for someone. A prisoner escaped from a transport. My blood chilled even more. Do you know who? I asked. He shook his head. But they are desperate to find him. Be careful whom you trust. The thought clung to me as we stepped back outside. Who was worth this much fear? The storm thickened. Snow stung my face like needles. The lights of the city blurred into a white haze. And all the while, a single question gnawed at my mind. Had that escaped prisoner been in our building? Had he been hiding behind our broken door last night? My thoughts were interrupted by a sudden scream. A woman stumbled into the street, hands bound, uniformed officers dragging her. She kicked and clawed at the snow, leaving streaks of red. Her voice was hoarse. I didn't do anything. Please. The officer slammed rifle butts into her ribs. Anna clutched my arm. Don't look, just keep walking. But how could I look away? How could anyone? One of the soldiers spotted us. Hey! You too. Stop. Panic surged through me. Run. We sprinted into a narrow alley, snow swallowing our footsteps. A gunshot cracked the air, stone dust exploded near my head. We ran faster, lungs burning. We burst onto another street and stumbled behind a cart loaded with sacks. I leaned against it, gasping for breath. Anna's eyes were wild. Footsteps thundered in the alley behind us. We crouched lower, hardly daring to inhale. Minutes passed, or hours. Finally, the footsteps faded. Anna squeezed my hand. "We have to get home," she whispered. We never reached home. Not the same home we'd left. When our building came into view, smoke curled into the night sky. The glow of flames reflected off the snow like sunset in hell. "No," I choked out. We ran, ignoring pain, ignoring everything. Our apartment door was gone. Fire burst from the windows above, roaring like a beast finally set free. People shouted, carrying buckets of snow, but it melted before reaching the flames. I pushed through the crowd, screaming, "Mother! Johann!" Anna dragged me back. "Anton, you'll die." I tore free, stumbling toward the entrance. Heat blasted my face. The stair railing collapsed in a burst of sparks. Smoke billowed like black claws. Someone grabbed my shoulder, our neighbor, elderly Mrs. Fisher. Her eyes were wet. She shook her head. "They tried to leave," she cried. "But the soldiers, they wouldn't let them." Her words struck like bullets. "No, please." The world swayed beneath me. My legs gave way. Somewhere in the fire, I heard wood crack and beams fall. Somewhere in the fire, hope turned to ash. Anna knelt beside me, arms around my shoulders as I shook uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry," she whispered over and over. But sorry meant nothing to the dead. When the flames finally began to die, only a skeleton of the building remained, charred, broken, silent. The candle was gone. Mother was gone. Johann was gone. War had taken everything I had left. Except Anna. Except the cold. Except the rage blooming like fire inside my frozen chest. I stared at the ruins, my home, my life, burnt to embers. "They will pay for this," I said, my voice nothing but smoke. Anna tightened her grip on my hand. "And we will survive," she answered. One step at a time, we turned away from the ashes. Night swallowed us once more. I didn't sleep that night. Anna and I sat beneath the collapsed archway of an abandoned railway station, backs against the freezing brick wall, watching snow erase the footprints behind us. My body shivered uncontrollably, but inside me burned a fire hotter than any winter could smother. Mother. Johann. Gone, not lost, not missing, taken. Killed by soldiers who never even learned their names. Every breath felt like breathing the ashes of my home. My heart hammered with a single thought. I should have protected them. Anna leaned against my shoulder. Her cheeks were streaked with soot and tears, but she held herself with the quiet strength I had leaned on more times than I deserved. "We have to move," she whispered. "It's not safe here." "Where?" I asked, blankly. Anna opened her mouth to speak, then froze. Footsteps crunched softly in the snow nearby. We ducked behind the arch, breath held tight in our chests. Two men appeared through the steam rising from the broken tracks. They wore civilian coats, but the way they moved, focused, alert, felt military. One carried a satchel marked with a faded red cross. The other held a lantern carefully covered with cloth to dim the light. Anna's grip on my wrist tightened. The men stopped several meters away. The older one looked around sharply, then spoke in a low voice. "We cannot linger. Patrols sweep this area every hour," he warned. The younger one replied, voice tense, "We need them, Franz. Without more hands, we'll fail the next transport." Transport? The word sent fear crawling down my spine. Anna's eyes met mine. I could see her mind racing. Were they kidnappers? Smugglers? Collaborators? The older man set the lantern on the ground. His hand shook, not with cold, but with something like grief. "I know," he said. "But every person we bring in is another risk. The Gestapo already suspects us. We lose one more member, and the resistance dies in Vienna." The resistance. The word hit me like a spark in dry tinder. Suddenly, Anna stood up. "Wait," she said. My heart dropped. "Anna." Too late. The men spun toward her, knives drawn in a heartbeat. "Who are you?" the younger demanded. "We're just looking for a place to stay," Anna said, voice steady. "We lost our home tonight. Please, we're not enemies." The men studied her, then me, my torn coat, the soot on our faces, the emptiness in our eyes. The older man stepped closer. "What happened?" "Soldiers set our building on fire," I said, voice trembling despite me. "My mother and brother." The words stuck in my throat. Anna squeezed my hand. The men's expressions softened, not with pity, but with recognition. "You've seen what they're capable of," the older man murmured. He exchanged a glance with his partner. A silent decision passed between them. "You should come with us," he said. We followed them through a maze of alleyways and bombed out courtyards until the streets became unfamiliar. The younger man tapped twice on a metal door hidden beneath a collapsed balcony. A slit slid open. Hard eyes stared out. "Ember and smoke," the younger man said. The door unlocked. Inside was a cellar lit by candles, warmer than anywhere we'd been in weeks. People huddled around a stove, their faces thin but alive. Maps covered the walls, crisscrossed with pins and markings. Piles of medical bandages and crates of canned food filled the corners. This was no ordinary hideout. This was the beating heart of the resistance. The older man turned to face us fully. "My name is Franz Becker," he said. "This is Lucas. We fight to free Vienna from those who strangle it." He looked at the melted remnants of wax clinging to my coat sleeve, the last piece of the candle that had lit our home. "You've survived what many would not," he said quietly. "We need people who can endure fire and still choose to stand." I stared at him. "Are you asking us to fight?" Franz shook his head. "No," he said. "We're asking if you want justice." Justice. A dangerous word. A necessary one. Anna's eyes met mine. In her gaze, I saw my mother's gentle strength, Johann's shy smile. Their memory demanded action. "I'll help," I said. Anna nodded. "So will I." Lucas exhaled loudly in relief. Franz placed a hand on my shoulder, firm, grounding. "Then welcome," he said, to the last candle. We learned quickly. The resistance didn't just sabotage rail lines or steal supplies, they saved lives. Jews, prisoners, wounded civilians, anyone the regime wanted to erase, they smuggled them out of the city or into safe houses hidden beneath Vienna's streets. Franz showed me how to listen for coded knocks on doors. Lucas taught Anna how to conceal messages inside loaves of bread and under carriage seats. We delivered charcoal drawings that were, in truth, maps. We passed coins marked with tiny scratches that meant danger. Every task felt monumental and terrifying. But fear was a familiar companion. And hope, fierce, stubborn, grew inside me again. Late one night, Franz called us over to the map-covered table. He pointed to a train route marked in red. "Tomorrow," he said, "a transport leaves Vienna. Dozens of prisoners. If we act quickly, we can switch the tracks, intercept them before dawn." "Intercept?" I asked. "We're freeing them," Lucas said simply. Anna's eyes widened. "How many?" 48 souls, Franz replied. Anna smiled, small, but real. For the first time since the fire, I felt something like purpose. We set off before sunrise. The sky was bruised purple, the snow reflecting faint starlight. Our breath formed ghosts that vanished into the wind. As we crept along the railway on the outskirts of the city, I remembered the nights Father used to take me to watch trains pass, how I would wave, imagining people traveling to beautiful places. Now trains carried only fear. The signal operator, a resistance ally, had already disabled the lights. Lucas and I moved to the switch lever. Franz climbed a signal tower to scout. I looked at Anna. Are you scared? She smiled sadly. Of course. But fear means we're still alive. I nodded. She always found the right words. A thunderous rumble grew in the distance. The train's shadow emerged through the snowstorm, huge, armored, monstrous. My hands tightened on the lever. Now? I whispered. Wait, Lucas muttered, eyes fixed on the horizon. The train thundered closer, steam roaring like a beast. Any second now? A bullet struck the ground beside us, exploding snow. Soldiers. Behind us. Get down. Lucas yelled. Gunfire erupted, echoing across the tracks. Franz shouted from the tower. They knew. It's a trap. My blood froze. The Gestapo had discovered the plan. Lucas fired back, but there were too many. The train screeched, gears howling as it slowed. Soldiers leaped down, surrounding the tracks. Anna grabbed my arm. Anton, we can still save them. But how? Panic choked me. The lever, she cried. Switch it. Bullets whipped past like angry hornets. My leg wound flared with agony. I threw myself at the lever and pulled with everything left inside me. It slammed into place. The train screeched, sparks flying as the wheels ground against the metal, then crash. The first car jumped the track, tipping into the snow with a terrible metallic scream. Soldiers shouted in chaos. Lucas grabbed us. Go. Run. We sprinted through the storm, hearts pounding like war drums. Searchlights sliced through the darkness. Dogs barked. Boots thundered behind us. Anna slipped. I caught her hand, refusing to let go. We're almost there. I gasped. But a soldier lunged from the side, slamming me into the snow. His rifle barrel pushed into my throat. Anna screamed my name. I punched wildly, weakly. The soldier snarled and raised his rifle but to strike. A gunshot rang out. The soldier fell beside me. Franz stood behind him, pistol smoking, face grim. He grabbed my coat and yanked me up. Move. We fled into the trees, deeper and deeper until the sounds of the chase faded into the wind. When we finally collapsed, gasping and shaking, Franz looked each of us in the eye. We saved some, he said. Not all. But some. He stared at the snow-covered ground, haunted. This war is a long night, he whispered. Sometimes, a single candle is all that keeps the darkness from winning. I looked at Anna. Her hand found mine, warm, steady. Through the trees, faint cries rose, voices calling in gratitude, in confusion, in new hope. 48 lives had been meant to vanish into silence. Tonight, at least some would live. For the first time, I felt the weight of what we were fighting for, not just revenge or survival, but a chance for others to see another sunrise. The night was far from over. But we were no longer blind in the dark. We had become the flame. The first thing I felt when I emerged from the sewer tunnel was the wind, sharp enough to sting the skin and cut straight through the coat I wore. The snow had not stopped piling across Vienna, and the sky was a pale, exhausted gray, like a candle struggling to stay lit before finally turning to smoke. I climbed the ladder first, carefully lifting the grate just a little, making sure there were no patrols nearby. I waited in silence, listening. Nothing except distant artillery echoes and the soft hiss of falling snow. Anais, I whispered down into the tunnel. It's clear. She climbed up behind me, shivering. Her eyelashes were tipped with frozen droplets, her lips carrying the ghost of a smile as she caught her breath again in the open air. It feels like we've been underground for a year, she murmured. I didn't disagree. The tunnels had a way of stealing time, hours slipping past unnoticed in the cold and dark. Down there, we measured life by footsteps and flickers of candlelight. But up here, every second felt loud. We pushed the grate back into place, making sure our tracks looked like nothing more than uneven patches of wind-carved snow. The streets were emptier than ever. Even the soldiers were avoiding the cold, or so I hoped. "Let's keep moving," I said quietly. "It's not far to the museum." If someone had told me months ago that the key to surviving a war would be hidden in the ruins of an old museum, I would have called them mad. Yet here we were, trudging through snow deeper than my boots, stopping every few meters to catch our breath and make sure shadows weren't moving where they shouldn't. Every window we passed was either shattered or boarded shut. The buildings themselves leaned tiredly against one another, coated with snow like gravestones in a forgotten cemetery. Sometimes I wondered whether Vienna still breathed, or if we were simply walking through its corpse. When we reached the museum gate, I almost didn't recognize it. The archway, once decorated with carved angels and marble lions, was now cracked open by a bomb hit. The lions were headless, buried under white powder. "This place used to be full of schoolchildren," Anais whispered. "They would take us here every winter. Art, science, history, we loved the dinosaur bones." I imagined her as a child, laughing, running across polished marble floors, tapping on glass cases while a kinder world existed outside. "It must have been beautiful," I said. "It still is," she replied, and gave me a small smile that warmed something deep inside me. We slipped through a narrow gap in the rubble and entered a hallway where moonlight spilled across marble tiles. Our footsteps echoed too loudly for comfort. Somewhere deeper inside, something metal clanged. We dropped instantly behind a collapsed pillar, breath held tight. I peeked around and nearly laughed from relief. Not soldiers. 3 children and an elderly man were huddled near a toppled statue, collecting broken pieces of wood to burn in a tiny metal bin. The fire flickered weakly, but their faces glowed. "Refugees," I whispered to Anais. "Like us." They noticed us at the same time, startled. The children scrambled back while the old man stepped protectively in front of them, holding a rusted iron rod like a sword. "We're not here to harm you," I said softly, raising my hands. "Then move quietly," he rasped, "and go. Soldiers were here last night. They accused us of hiding rebels." "Are you?" He frowned. "Should I tell you if we were?" No, of course he shouldn't. Trust was the last remaining currency in the city, and hardly anyone could afford it. "We're looking for someone. A man named Weber," I said quietly. "He told us to come here." The old man studied us for a long moment. His shoulders finally relaxed. "Follow the stairs down," he muttered. "If he's alive, you'll find him in the archives." Alive. That single word carried both hope and fear. We thanked him and moved on, heading deeper into the museum. It felt like exploring the bones of a giant. Shadows stretched across cracked columns, and every doorway loomed like a mouth waiting to swallow us. The silence was so complete that when a chunk of plaster dropped behind us, I jumped as if a bomb had landed. Down a spiral staircase coated in ice, we entered the archives, a vast basement lined with towering shelves. Paper and history were scattered everywhere, documents soaked and frozen into curled fragments of the world before war. And in the middle of that frozen labyrinth was Weber. He was kneeling on the floor beside an overturned bookcase, his hands stained with soot from a small fire he had been tending. His face lit up when he saw us. "You made it," he breathed, rushing forward and embracing us briefly before remembering the cold reality of our situation. "I was afraid they caught you." "They almost did," I said. "They know you're helping the resistance." He nodded grimly. "And now you must leave Vienna, both of you. Tonight." I exchanged a confused glance with Anais. "What do you mean?" "We can't leave. There are people counting on us below." "We promised." "You promised to survive," Weber interrupted. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with urgency. "The city is dying. Every day, the soldiers burn more homes. They call it cleansing the infected districts. Soon there will be nothing left but ashes in the snow." His eyes found mine, searching, pleading. "You carry proof. Names. Locations. Every officer responsible for the executions. If you fall into the wrong hands, the resistance collapses." Vienna collapses. Annie swallowed hard. Where must we go? Weber pointed to a map pinned to the wall. A red line from Vienna into the mountains. Toward a remote border. There's a safe route through the forest. Others are waiting there. They have transport. If you reach them, the world will know what's happening here. I didn't know what to say. Leaving meant abandoning everyone hiding in the underground tunnels. Yara. The children. The wounded. How could we? A gunshot exploded through the museum. Suddenly all our choices vanished, erased by terror. Go. Weber shoved us toward the back exit. Save the evidence. But what about you? I shouted. He smiled sadly. I'm too old to run. I'll buy you time. No. I hated how easily that seemed decided. But another gunshot boomed, closer, and I had no time to argue. We sprinted down a corridor lined with broken paintings, through a door half covered in icicles, and into the courtyard. Snow swallowed our footsteps as we ran. Behind us, boots thundered and voices barked orders we couldn't understand. A flare exploded in the air, red light pouring over everything. We were exposed. Anais grabbed my hand. Don't stop, she gasped. The soldiers burst from the museum entrance. Bullets sliced the air near our feet. I pulled Anais behind a burned-out truck, and we sprinted through a narrow alley that led toward the edge of the district. My lungs burned. My legs felt like drenched sandbags. But adrenaline pushed me. We climbed a fence. Tore our gloves. Slipped on black ice. And still we ran. The city lights faded behind us, even the glow of flames swallowed by the pale blizzard. We didn't stop running until all that surrounded us were tall skeletal trees, frozen branches rattling like bones. The wind screamed through them, and the snow beneath our boots crunched like breaking glass. I collapsed against a tree, panting. Anais leaned over, coughing into her scarf. We made it, she whispered. We're out. But I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. We left him, I said, barely a voice. We left Weber to die. Anais placed her hand on my cheek, turning my eyes to hers. We didn't choose that, she said gently. The war chose it for us. Her touch was warm. Human. Something the cold world seemed determined to erase. We'll tell his story, she added. We'll make sure people remember. Wasn't that the cruel joke? People remembered war. They remembered suffering. But the individuals, the quiet heroes, their names melted away like frost beneath sunlight. Still, I nodded. We survive, I said. For him. A branch snapped somewhere behind us. We whirled around, ready to flee. But it wasn't a soldier. A small fox stood staring at us, its fur dusted with snow, its tail curled around delicate paws. It blinked slowly, then trotted off deeper into the woods, as if inviting us to follow. Anais smiled. Maybe that's a sign. I didn't believe in signs. But when she laced her fingers through mine again, I decided I could believe in her. We followed the fox's path through the trees, navigating the growing drifts. Somewhere up ahead, freedom waited. A way to bring the truth to the world. Yet as I looked back at Vienna, now only a faint silhouette drowned in snowfall, I felt a weight on my chest unlike any fear. The snow falling over the city glowed faintly in the moonlight, like tiny fragments of memories drifting down to cover everything that once was. The snow remembers. Even if no one else ever does. And I prayed, in silence, that the last candle in Vienna would not burn out before we returned. The forest turned darker the farther we walked, as if the night were thickening around us, swallowing the small strip of moonlight we followed. Snow soaked through my boots until I couldn't feel my toes. Each breath came out ragged and painful, as though the air itself wanted to freeze inside my chest. We kept pushing forward anyway. Because the alternative was going back, and going back meant death. But somewhere between exhaustion and stubborn hope, my mind began to play cruel tricks. What if the map Weber gave us was wrong? What if the soldiers found the others waiting for us? What if Vienna died tonight, and we were the last ones who ever remembered it? I shook my head hard, trying to shake away those thoughts. The world didn't change. Only my despair did. Let's rest, Anais whispered after we stumbled over a buried root that nearly sent both of us face first into the snow. We can't, I said, breathing heavily. Not yet. We're too close to the city perimeter. They'll send patrols. She nodded, but her face tightened with fear and fatigue. She was trying to be strong for me, for both of us. But the trembling in her hands betrayed her limits. We'll find shelter, I promised. Just a bit farther. Every promise in war was a gamble. And every hope was fragile. The wind suddenly shifted, carrying a sound that made my skin crawl, distant barking, echoing thinly between the trees. Dogs. My pulse spiked. They're tracking us, I hissed. Anais grabbed my arm, eyes wide. We need to hide. But there was nowhere, only endless snow and skeletal trees offering no mercy. I pulled her behind a log half buried in frost, and we crouched low. I held her against me, trying to steady her breathing, trying to steady mine. The barking grew louder. Heavy footsteps crunched nearby. Voices calling orders in a language that sounded harsh and hungry. The patrol stopped close enough that I could see the lantern light flashing between branches. Every muscle in my body froze. I didn't blink. I didn't even breathe. Then, a flare shot up into the sky. A scream followed, sharp and furious. The dog sprinted away. The soldiers followed, their attention drawn entirely toward the sudden chaos behind us. Something else was happening in the city. We were forgotten, for now. Anais exhaled shakily, shoulders slumping. We should go, I whispered. Yes, she nodded, wiping tears she didn't realize had fallen. Before sunrise. We moved again, slower now, every step measured. The forest eventually opened into a small clearing where a wooden cottage leaned against the slope of a hill. Smoke rose faintly from its chimney, the first sign of life we'd seen since leaving Vienna. Do you think they're friendly? She whispered. I don't know, I admitted. But we don't have another choice. We approached carefully. My heart hammered as I knocked on the frost-covered door. A long silence. Then, the click of a lock. The door cracked open, revealing a woman wrapped in a thick wool shawl. Her hair was white as the snow, but her eyes were sharp, too sharp to be fooled easily. What do you want? She demanded. Shelter, I said. Just until dawn. Please. Her gaze flicked over our clothes, our worn faces. She saw desperation, but she also saw something else. Something that made her shoulders slowly relax. You came from Vienna, she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. She opened the door wider. Come in. Quickly. Warmth hit me like a punch. A fire crackled inside the small room, filling the air with the smell of burning pine. For a moment, I just stood there, eyes closed, letting heat thaw the parts of me I forgot were alive. You look like ghosts, the woman muttered. Sit. Drink. She handed us steaming cups of broth, weak but heavenly. I'm Marta, she said as she sat across from us. I used to cook for soldiers. These days, I help those running from them. Annie swallowed a mouthful of broth before speaking. We need to reach the border. There are people waiting for us. Marta studied us again. Then you'll need another fire. The mountain pass freezes solid overnight. Anyone caught out there, she clucked her tongue grimly. The snow will bury you before a bullet can. I nodded. We'll leave at first light. Her eyes softened, but worry lingered beneath. Light comes late now. And morning isn't always safer. She stood, placing another log onto the fire. Sparks flew like tiny embers of hope. What you carry must be very important, she murmured, staring into the flames. It is, I replied. It will save lives, she asked. Yes, Anais answered, her voice steady. Marta nodded. Then you must survive. Even if your heart breaks doing so. We slept in shifts. Or rather, we tried. Every crackle of wood sounded like gunfire. Every gust of wind like a soldier's shout. Memories of Vienna kept replaying behind my eyes, the building burning, the screams, Weber's last look before he sent us running. Anais rested her head on my shoulder. Do you think he made it out? She whispered. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe it. I wanted hope to be stronger than reality. I don't know, I said quietly. But he believed in us. That has to be enough. She threaded her fingers through mine. We didn't need more words. We left just as the first hint of dawn touched the far horizon, not sunlight, just a faint thinning of darkness. Marta wrapped us in thicker coats and handed me a map drawn on rough paper. When you reach the ridge, she instructed, pointing, you'll see a large boulder shaped like a broken crown. Turn east there. That path will take you out. And you? Anais asked. Marta smiled, a sad, practiced smile. My war is here. Go. And don't look back. We thanked her, too quietly for the gratitude we owed. As we stepped out into the freezing wind again, I looked at the rising smoke from her chimney. A signal of warmth in a world turning to ice. Climbing the ridge was brutal. The snow reached past our knees in places, forcing us to pull each other forward. My breathing turned painful. My legs shook without command. The cold tried its best to erase us. But we reached the top at last. And there, just like Marta said, stood the broken crown boulder. Anais pressed a hand to her heart. We're going to make it. I allowed myself the smallest smile. Yes. And then, the shot rang out. Snowburst exploded near my foot. We dove behind the rock as two figures emerged downhill, soldiers, rifles raised. We have to run. I shouted. There's no cover, she cried back. Another bullet screamed past my ear, too close. I'll draw them off. I said. No, she grabbed me, eyes wide with terror. I'm not losing you too. Her voice cracked, and that hurt worse than the cold, worse than fear. We survived together, I said fiercely. Or not at all. Her breath shuddered. She nodded. We sprinted, sliding, stumbling, down the eastern slope. Bullets chased us, tearing chunks of snow from the earth. Then, a sudden drop. The ground disappeared beneath us. We fell. Tumbling through an icy ravine, white and blur and pain and panic. I hit the bottom hard, breath knocked out of me. Anais landed beside me, groaning. We need to move, she gasped. But when I tried to stand, my ankle screamed, a sharp, nauseating pain. She pulled my arm over her shoulders, forcing me upright. You helped me, she whispered. Now let me help you. We limped forward together, one broken step at a time. The gunfire faded behind us. Wind howled in our ears. And ahead, somewhere, freedom waited. The trees gradually thinned. The snow under our boots changed, softer, less hostile. We crossed one last ridge. And froze. Below us, through drifting flurries, lights glimmered, lanterns swinging from the hands of bundled figures approaching through the valley. Resistance fighters. The safe group. Waiting for us. Waiting for the evidence we carried. Anais laughed, a breathless, exhausted laugh that turned into tears. I wrapped an arm around her as relief flooded through me so suddenly I almost collapsed again. We did it, I whispered. We really. A final gunshot cracked the air. Anais jerked forward, her breath catching in surprise. Time froze. I caught her as she fell, her body going limp in my arms, snow blooming red beneath her. No, I choked, my voice breaking into pieces. No, no, no. Her eyes fluttered, searching my face. Don't, stop, she whispered. You have to, go. I can't, I begged. Please, please stay with me. Her hand brushed my cheek, a fading warmth in the cold. For all of us, she breathed. Live. Her finger slipped from mine. Her eyes, the eyes that carried hope through the darkest nights, closed. And she was gone. The world went quiet. No wind. No war. Just silence. And snow that remembers everything. Footsteps arrived, the resistance fighters, too late. They pulled me away from her, lifting me towards safety, shouting orders I couldn't hear. I clutched the documents to my chest, even as my heart shattered into pieces sharp enough to bleed me dry. Annie stayed behind, covered by a white blanket that would hide her from the world, but not from the memory of snow. When we finally crossed the border, the sun rose. It was the first sunrise I had seen in months. Warm light poured across the mountains. But nothing felt warm anymore. Someone asked my name. I answered. Someone asked what we carried. I told them. Someone asked what happened to Vienna. I cried. In the months that followed, the information we brought changed everything. The world learned the truth. Pressure mounted. The war shifted. Lives were saved. Weber's sacrifice meant something. Marta's risk meant something. Annie's death meant something. But Vienna would never be the same. And neither would I. I now write this by candlelight, in a quiet room far from the gunfire, far from the cold that nearly killed us both. A gentle rain taps against the window, not snow. And for the first time in a long time, I breathe without fear. The flame flickers, warming my fingers as I write her name again and again. Anais. The last candle in Vienna did not burn out. It lives here, in memory, in truth, in every life saved. When morning finally comes to a wounded city, someone has to remember the night. Someone has to carry the light forward. Someone must survive. For her, I did. For her, I still do.